Welcome back. Trust the mics. Here we go. Sixers getting ready for the Wizards tonight. No Joel Embiid, Maxey, George. They played for the first time together. We finally got a little glimpse of that. Let's get into it all right now. MKB, I'm Mike Gill. This is Trust the Mics here on the BFA Live Sports Channel, at Mike Gill Show on all the socials, at Trust the Mic. And there he is. Michael Kasky-Blomain is back. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. What's good, man?
How was your Thanksgiving, Mike?
Very low key. I called a high school football game Thursday morning, called Blue Coats Saturday night, called St. Joe Princeton on Sunday. So it was a lot of running around, a lot of working.
Busy weekend.
Yeah, yours good?
Yeah, spent some time with some family up in the Poconos.
Nice.
Got to watch some football. Would have been a little better if the Eagles played a little better on Black Friday, but can't win them all.
Yeah, Friday was the one day I was kind of off. Went out to hit up a brewery to watch the game, just to kind of hear people around you. And you heard the frustration in everybody's voice about how mad they were. And then, later on, Sixer game against the Hawks the other night, like the way they come back, a lot of fun, improbable comeback. Maxey's awesome. And then all that comes to my mind is, can you make a free throw? Like, I get it. But, like, if Joel Embiid misses 2 free throws in that situation, he's getting absolutely torched. Maxey's at the line. I feel like he has these late game free throw hiccups a lot. Does it me, or does it feel like he'll miss the front end or something, like in important moments?
Yeah, that wasn't the first time, but he's not the guy you expect to go up there with the game on the line to miss 2 like that. Especially, I mean, you have to feel bad for him how much he did that game, and then it's the MVP chance, Mike. He said it a couple weeks ago that he's still not used to the MVP chance. I was in the building for that game right before he shot that first free throw. They started with the MVP chance, and he clanged them both. So I think Sixers fans might have to rethink the MVP approach when Maxey's at the line. Maybe wait.
Stop chanting MVP for this man at the line.
Basically, until he gets used to it, at least. I think he's still not quite used to it.
So Ramona Shelburne yesterday made a comment that has kind of like perked my interest a little bit here. And she basically, the comment that she said is essentially that the feeling is that this is Tyrese's team. And over the summer, it started to turn the page because they don't know when George and Embiid would be able to kind of play. Do we get the sense that it has flipped, that everybody is now saying this is Maxey's team, it's not Joel's team? Like when Joel's there, hey, we're back. Like, do we get the sense that this is a full-fledged turn to Maxey?
100%, Mike. 100%. I think it's been, proof has been in the pudding all season, the way the team has played. And like you said, I think it really did start over the offseason. I think Maxey came into the offseason with some frustration after the way that last season went. And obviously, not just him. There was frustration throughout the organization. Joel gets knee surgery. Paul George gets knee surgery. They're not really able to go throughout the summer, throughout training camp, things like that. Questions about the availability. And Maxey just kind of, I think, grabbed the bull by the horns and says, this is my team, both, with the way he plays and his leadership and everything. And people have followed along. And I think that, the offense is tailored to Maxey. The team is tailored to Maxey. He's the leader on court. He's the leader in the locker room. So, I think it's been trending that way, even going back to last season. But I think, Mike, this is the first year that we can officially say that, this is the beginning of the Tyrese Maxey era and moving on from the Embiid era.
All right. So if that's the case, then what is this season about? Okay, is this a good team, an average team, a fun team? What is this season about then? You enter a season with Embiid, you have generally had some sort of championship hopes. He is not, we'll get into him in a little bit, but, that whole situation is bizarre. So what is this season about then? What do we think?
It's tough because they're kind of in the middle ground right now, Mike, where, I mean, at least
everything they never wanted to be, right? In 2013, they didn't want to be in the middle, and here they are.
And I was going to say, we talked about that for years during the process era, how the worst place to be in the NBA is in the middle. You want to be either in the top or in the bottom. And I think this Sixers team this year is at least they're entertaining, Mike. That's like my main takeaway coming off of last year and what we had to deal with this team, where it was, literally painful to watch most of the games. At least this year, if you go to a Sixers game like that Hawks game on Sunday, that was a fun game. It was entertaining. It's fun to get to watch Maxey. It's fun to get to watch Edgecombe play. At least they have some like up and coming talent and exciting players to watch. But overall, I mean, they're not a good enough team, Mike, in my eyes, unless all of a sudden something happens where Joel and Paul George are available on a nightly basis. Don't have a lot of quality wins this year. Anytime we play a somewhat decent team, they seem to lose. So they're, it doesn't seem like a team with legit championship aspirations, maybe playoff hopes, but middle of the road in my eyes. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, without the Embiid, George, they played for the first time the other night, all three of them together, but without having any idea of what their availability will be. I was under the hope that Embiid would give you about 50, 55 games. George would be in the same boat. They would have played a bunch by now. George has been in and out. He's seemingly back. He couldn't play the other night because he had back tightness. I mean, what's going on here? The Embiid thing, bizarre. He was out, then he played. Now he's out tonight. I've lost some confidence that he'll be able to be. What's he going to do in the playoffs? Like, he can't play game one, but he can play game two, or he can play game one, but he can't play. I mean, I have no idea. But without them having some microcosm of consistently playing the three of them together, this is a first-round exit, I would imagine. Right?
If that. You're looking, they're 9th in the East right now.
I don't know that they dropped to 11th. There's only 11 teams in the mix here.
They get it. No, they're a play-in team for sure. They'll get a top 10 spot, but can they win a series, or can they, get into the playoffs with the play-in? If healthy, maybe. But, you look, I've said this the past couple episodes, Mike, like the quality of wins that they've had so far this season. They're 10-9. I'd have to go back. I think maybe one of those games has come against the team that has a winning record. We beat the Raptors like earlier in the season before they went on the 8-2 over the last 10. They're 14-7 now. But all of the wins that the Sixers have had this year basically have been against bottom feeders when they've had to play some of the better teams in the East. Even teams that have been missing like key players, like that Pistons game last week where they didn't have Cade or Duren or Tobias or so many of these guys. The Sixers still lose. So I just don't feel like I feel like they're a team that's competitive, and on any given night they could, you could have a good game. They could pull out a win. If Maxey goes off for, 40 plus, they could beat any team on any given night. I don't see them stringing together enough wins like that in a series where they could actually make some noise in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. The Embiid thing is very frustrating.
Perfect.
Were you there were you there the other night?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, so what happened? I mean, it was like he's out, right? He's ruled out, and then it was questionable. Then he plays. Like, was it like weird? Like, what was going on in like that whole buildup?
Well, he was ruled out earlier in the day, like Mike, before any of us were even in the building. Like the injury report that came out in that afternoon, maybe the 3:30 injury report, something like that. He was ruled out. We got in there and they said that he felt better than expected during shoot around, that there wasn't a lot of soreness and he was feeling like that he was good enough to go for that game. So they made the very unusual move of upgrading a player from out to then questionable to being a game time decision, where ultimately during the pregame warmups, they made the final determination that he felt, good enough to go for this game. I think the fact that Andre Drummond, who also ended up playing somewhat surprisingly in that game, was a little bit banged up after the knee sprain that he suffered the game before. I think maybe that played a little bit of a factor in it because they weren't sure how much he would be able to go. But, it's very rare, Mike, that you see a guy go from out to questionable to then playing in a game in the NBA. So that was definitely a unique thing here for the Sixers.
So then he does come back and play, and he plays 30 minutes, and he wasn't great. I mean, he's good offensively. I think he certainly helps them out offensively. He helps out Maxey offensively. He allows Maxey to be able to do so much more. He was fluid in some of his shots. You saw him hitting a couple of his jumpers. So if he could play, 2 games in a row, you might see him gain some fluidity in the offense. Are you surprised he's not playing tonight?
I was. I definitely was surprised, Mike. It's not a back-to-back, not the front end. They had the day off yesterday. He only played 30 minutes in that Hawks game, and I did think early on he looked good. Down the stretch of that game, I was sitting there questioning why Nick Nurse still had him on the floor, to be honest, Mike. On both ends, he looked like he couldn't move. There was no weak side help. There was no rim protection. And honestly, on offense,
a complete zero in the rebounding game.
I mean, guys jumping over him to get rebounds, guys boxing out in front of him to get rebounds, no rim protection, not even being able to move from like the left block to the right side to give.
Now, is that him? Is that him being extra cautious? I don't know. Were you in that little gaggle? I mean, it was pretty sad listening to him after the game. Like, it's like sounds like a guy who's realizing my body can't handle what I needed to do. So is he just being extra cautious? It almost feels like he doesn't want to get tangled into any rebounding, anything where bodies might tangle and come around. Is like, it feels like he's being so cognizant and cautious of that whole situation.
I think subconsciously, Mike, I don't know if he's going out there with the mindset like, hey, I'm going to avoid rebound scuffles and confrontation, but I think maybe subconsciously you see him checking the knee, like grabbing it with his hand sometimes. I think it's obviously something that's on his mind when he's out on the floor. And like to your point, I think it's a situation where he's just starting to realize like, hey, some of the stuff that I did 2-3 years ago that I could do physically when I was in these MVP conversations, I can't do now. And I think you saw it down the stretch on offense. It's really stuck out to me in that game where he almost looked like he didn't want the ball down the stretch of that game. Like he would get the ball in the mid post or at the elbow and just immediately look to hand it off back to Maxey or kick it out. Like he wasn't looking to score. He wasn't looking to be aggressive. And I mean, when he's doing that, not providing any help defensively, not really contributing offensively, he like people have said, I mean, he looked like a shell of himself in the second half of that game after playing, 15, 20 first minutes in the first half. Now we can't play again Tuesday night, which I am surprised about. It doesn't look or feel great, Mike.
No, that's Hollywood Interviews is watching on YouTube, says it's time to move on from Embiid and PG. The problem with that is you're watching Embiid, Hollywood, we're watching Embiid. No one's taking that contract and saying, you know what I'll do? I'll take him based on what I just saw. Now, unless you think you can get a guy to give you 18 to 20 minutes and give you 18 to 20 points in those minutes, maybe. But what I see from Embiid is a guy who can really help this team offensively, but you can't play a playoff series with him playing defense like this. No way. And I love Embiid, man. I've enjoyed watching his career. I'm sad for the guy. It's unfortunate to hear him. Like, he can't play defense right now, and I don't know how you can go with long stretches of him because you need him on the offensive end to maximize Maxey. You have to have him out there. And that doesn't mean Maxey can't score, but he makes things so much more easy for Maxey to even – I mean, Maxey can score 40 with Embiid out there, and without him, he's working his ass off to get, his points. But the two-man with him and Embiid can be deadly.
Yeah, and in response to that comment, Mike, I don't know if a lot of people even realize that extension that Joel signed last summer, that hasn't even kicked in yet. He's on the last year right now of the deal that he had before the extension. So we're saying that's 3 more years starting next season at almost $60 million a year. He's 58 million next season, 62 million the following season, a player option in 28-29 for $67 million, Mike. In 2028, Joel Embiid will be making $67 million from the Sixers with a player option who's
opting out of that?
Yeah, who's opting out. And that's the thing when obviously a lot of people are saying, trade Joel, move on from him. Who's going to take that? I mean, the way he's looked over the past, not even this year, Mike. I mean, the entire Nick Nurse era has been, made up of Joel dealing with the knees and not being available. And when he is available, looking not like the MVP player that we saw a few years back. So it's like, it just feels like the Sixers are stuck. And you do hate to say that for Joel, a guy that's been such a big part of this team for a decade, but who's going to trade for that contract?
I don't see any scenario. Now, Hollywood follows up with this question. Would you include McCain in a deal to get Embiid off the contract? I just don't think McCain at this stage is a big enough return to take on that money. You're acting like McCain is like Jalen Johnson over there.
I would. I mean, to answer the question, Hollywood, yes. I mean, I would include Jared McCain, but to Mike's point, I don't think that that's attractive enough of a inclusion in a deal to get a team to swallow 3 years worth of $60 million for a 30-game-a-year player at best, maybe,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you look at Embiid and do you look and wonder if they are now over managing him in hopes that by the time March comes around that he would have been rested so much intermittently throughout the season that he can give you March and April and then whatever else you can keep going? Like, do you think they are over kind of managing him?
I honestly think they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants, Mike. I'm not sure that there's like a really concrete plan with Joel at this point. Like maybe they had a plan coming into the season, but this right knee soreness thing that's popped up, and it's now being listed as right knee injury management, by the way. It's switched from, like soreness to injury management without an actual injury occurring as far as
so for you're down there and you see that, what is that for the people watching, like the difference between management and like what does that tell you?
I mean, it's this terminology, but it does tell you that it's something that's maybe a little bit more serious. When this first popped up before that Celtics game, it was about 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about it on the podcast because he came and Nick Nurse said that he had the soreness in the knee, and I said to you, I was like, if he misses a couple games, no big deal. If this is something that lingers and stretches from a week to 2 weeks to now 3 weeks, that's a problem. And the Sixers, as they always are being pretty secretive and tight-lipped about it. There's not a lot of updates. Joel the other night was the first time we heard from him since all of this latest soreness popped up. So I don't even know that the Sixers know, Mike. I think they're at the mercy of Joel at this point and how he feels and how the knee responds, and hopefully they can get him to the playoffs. Obviously, they came into this year trying to minimize the workload. I think that's still part of the plan, but I don't know that it's, something that they have a concrete plan with him moving forward.
Well, I mean, they play tonight, and then they have a back-to-back, right? They got a back-to-back coming up on Thursday and Friday. They play the Warriors Thursday, the Bucks Friday, and then they play again on Sunday. So they do have 3 more games left this week. I mean, I guess maybe can he play Thursday against the Warriors? He's off on Friday, obviously, and then does he play Sunday against the Lakers? And then they have a long week off. They don't play again until Friday. So would that be a good sign if that could happen?
Yeah, I think that's a best case scenario, Mike. There's no reason, unless there's something that they're not telling us and it's literally still just the soreness.
Well, do you see that? Do you see that like, hey, we know we have a bunch of games coming up here, and then we know that there's a long period next week where they play one of those filler games, I guess. They play Friday.
Yeah.
So they're off on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if it's like, hey, we don't play him tonight, which we're recording on Tuesday, we get him on Thursday. He doesn't play Friday. We get him on Sunday. Then we don't have a game all week. Then Friday, then they play again on Sunday. And then they got another long gap where they don't play again until Friday. So they got some elongated stretches of rest coming up here.
Yeah, and I mean, A, that's what happens when you don't qualify for the NBA Cup, Mike, But B, I mean, I think to your
bummer. How many Sixer fans are just bummed out that they didn't make the Cup?
Not raising the Cup this year.
Damn.
But, to your point, I think that's a best case scenario. If you look at that schedule, you get him in against the Warriors on Thursday for a home game against the Lakers Sunday, and then like you said, you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to rest and recover for Friday. The Friday game against Indiana.
Can I just say though, I want to like the Cup. I want to like this concept. It's just so poorly done.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It feels forced.
It's forced. I mean, the commercials are bad. You're getting like people trying the Cup. Nobody cares about the Cup. Like, it's so bad. It's so forced. The courts are bad. Now Luka's ripping the courts. I mean, the courts are bad. How many people have you heard say, this is awesome, I get to come and see a blue court? Are you kidding me? Like,
not one. I've heard the opposite.
I've heard the opposite. I'd like to see the research of the people who were like, oh, man, this court's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if they – and the frustrating thing to me is, Mike, they haven't done a specialized court for the NBA Finals in like a decade. They used to have the finals script, and then you would have the Larry O'Brien on the court. They got rid of that. So if you're watching an actual NBA Finals game, you wouldn't even know it's the finals. But if you watch a NBA Cup game on Friday night, you get the bright, colorful court, so everybody knows that it's a cup. Like, the priorities there just seem backwards to me.
Let's get back to this Embiid stuff, though, because I'm honestly I'm disappointed because I did feel like he had surgery in February, and the fact that he played on opening night felt kind of like surprising, and in a good way. Like, I'm surprised he's back, and maybe this means that, like, he could play no back-to-backs. Okay, I'm reserved to that fact. But this thing has gotten to the point where I'm now dismayed. There's a funny joke where the guy says, my wife accused me of stealing her thesaurus. Not only am I appalled, I'm dismayed, and, like, you just going through all these words. So, like, every word you can use for being disappointed, put it into the checkbox. I just don't understand the way this whole thing has gone. The minute restrictions, can't play this night, he can play that night, when you're playing him, who's deciding this? I don't think Joel's saying I don't want to play tonight. I don't know. Maybe. I'm just so – you can't deal with this for 3 more years is my point. I'm getting to the point where, like, I have dealt with enough, and I have been as patient as possible with Embiid. But you just talked about the extension. This is going to keep going on. It's not going to get better.
No, it's not. That's the concern, and it's too hard, Mike. I've been saying this for years, and people have kind of pushed back. But I think the Sixers are at an extreme disadvantage with Joel Embiid and the fact that, like, you just don't know, and it's so hard to have your best player be a guy all the way up through the playoffs that you just don't know if you can count on. And again, that's not a knock on Joel. Obviously, he said the other night after the game that if people don't realize, like, he would give anything to be able to be out there on a nightly basis.
I have never like this guy. He said it when he got into that whole altercation with Marcus, and that the whole thing was, I played with the broken face. I played with this knee injury. I played with that. He has played through as many injuries as anyone has ever played through. I don't question whether he wants to play. I'm questioning whether he can.
Right.
And I think he, after the game, is sadly coming to terms with he doesn't know if he can do it anymore. Now, he's only 31 years old. It's not like this guy's 35 like Paul George, and you're wondering if Paul George can be all-star level Paul George again. That's something we can get into. I think this is a 31-year-old guy who's like, I can't believe I can't do what I want to do anymore, and that at 31 is hard to come to terms with.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And unfortunately, it's what a lot of people feared about Joel, dating all the way back to the 2014 NBA draft coming out of Kansas, Mike, when he had, injury concerns then, misses the first 2 seasons. I mean, at that point, people questioned whether he'd even play. He obviously, has put together a very nice career. But at the end of the day, like, a huge, very large man that has lower, like, knee and feet issues, it's not a good thing, Mike. And I think what we're seeing is his body betraying him and deteriorating in real time. And it's tough because it when you critique it makes you sound like you're trying, like, personally saying Joel this and Joel. No one doubts his desire to play, but at the same time, like,
that's not true. That's not true.
Well, not no one.
I get plenty of people on my radio show that doubt his desire to play, and that's the people that I'm kind of talking to here. I push back on that. I don't think Joel doesn't want to play. I think Joel wants to play. But if you listen to him, I think he knows I can't do it anymore. Or I can do it, but not at the level that I did it.
Right. I can do it on a part-time basis, basically.
What do you think of this comment from E. Kraz? Says, do you feel that with that contract, though, like the whole retirement talk, medical, I don't. He's making $60 million a year. You retiring?
I'm not walking away from 60.
So that's the problem. He makes so much money that people just assume that he doesn't want to play because he can make the money. Right. That's where he's in the bind.
Well, in a way, I mean, that's what I was about to say. Like, it sounds like you're almost being negative about Joel, but it's the Sixers really who gave him this extension without, with the knee situation going on, and now they're stuck, and it makes it, the reaction to it is going to be negative with Joel because it's his money, it's him tying up the salary cap space, but it was the Sixers that gave him this deal. And honestly, Mike, this extension is going to go down probably as one of the worst in NBA history, unless something turns around here.
Why did they give the extension when they did? Was it because they thought he's MVP, Joel? Was it to save money so that if in case he was good, they didn't get really – because if they would have waited and he turns out to be an MVP again, then they really get hit over the head. So did they try to get him early to save money on the extension?
Yeah, Mike, I think it was a combination. If you actually remember, we broke that story last summer for 97.3. I had the reporting that they were going to do the extension. And from what I heard at that time, it was that, A, they wanted to get out in front of it, and they thought he deserved it. And just to lock him up, he was coming off of the second year. Obviously, he was injured, but they thought that he was going to be healthy again moving forward. And they could have – the thing is that they could have waited, Mike. Like, they could have waited till this past offseason because this year would have been the last year of his deal. They obviously jumped the gun, and it's going to come back to haunt them.
All right. It's very frustrating. It's kind of sad. EK is watching. He says watching him stand there on defense and just let people rebound and dunk is tough.
Literally, he can't move. It is tough to watch. It really is.
That's the question. Can he not move, or is he being over? Because on offense, he does have fluidity. He does look like a guy who's got a little step. He's got, he still has the little shimmy. He looks like on offense a capable player, right?
To an extent, I push back a little bit on that. It's still, you don't see a lot of the explosion. Like, he still has the fluidity in the mid range and like the catch and shoot, the pick and pop. You don't see him going downhill with any type of ferocity and speed. I don't think we've seen a dunk from him this year. I mean, he used to do the fake DHO and turn and like throw down on dudes or put back dunk rebounds. Like, we don't see that from him. And in that Hawks game specifically, because that's all we've seen him play in about the last month, in the second half of that game, Mike, on offense, he didn't look fluid to me. He looked like a guy that couldn't move and was not confident in his own ability on offense. For a guy that has averaged, 30 points a game 2 years before that, you never would have thought that watching him play. It was like hot potato, Mike. They would toss him the ball. He wouldn't even look at the rim. He'd be on, like the elbow facing and kick it back out to Maxey or McCain on the perimeter and get out of the way. Like, he did not look like a guy that was comfortable on offense to me in the second half of that Atlanta game.
So do you want to see them manage him through this season or shut him down in hopes that the rest of his contract you can try to get something out of him?
You tell me. I genuinely don't have an answer for the best way to approach it, Mike. What would you do? If you're Daryl Morey, you're in the hot seat with Daryl Morey. How would you approach this?
I mean, it's tough because you have this young backcourt now. You have some pieces. Do I think this is a championship team? Not necessarily. If I have Joel MVP, I don't know. Can I make noise in these playoffs with a Joel MVP? I don't even know what Paul George is. We can talk about his fit, coming up in a minute here. But I think I might try to get to Christmas without him and then reevaluate how he's feeling and what he's, for the stretch run and see, like, hey, if we let you sit the whole month out, they got to be transparent with it. You can't say he's out, then he's in, then he's playing. Listen. This is what's going on with Joel. We're going to rest him for the month in hopes that, his body responds and that we will have a healthy Joel for the final stretch run of the season.
I think that would be best for everybody, Mike. Fans, the team, Joel himself, like having a little bit of certainty and clarity in that way, as opposed to every day he's, questionable. It's day to day. You don't know. The team doesn't know. Nick Nurse doesn't know if he's like, it's too tough to try to have a winning team in that way. So I do agree. I think I said that with this current injury, instead of like being every single game, is he going to be good to go? Just say, hey, he's on the shelf for 3 weeks. We're going to let him rest up. We have enough this year. At least they have some horses where if he's not out there, they're at least competitive. Like you said, I don't know and expect them to be a championship team, but they have the guys with the way Maxey's playing and Edgecombe and obviously Paul George back and Oubre when he's out there. Like, they have the guys that can at least keep game competitive without Joel. And the uncertainty, I think, is a net negative for all involved, Mike. So I think that would be a good, good approach.
Yeah, there's some people watching, and everybody watching on YouTube X. Appreciate it. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell, so you get alerts when we go live. Trust the Mics on Tuesdays, but you can watch it in perpetuity. You can just keep on watching it whenever you want. And we got a big audience right now that are watching. Eric wants to know, if you play him and make the playoffs, how many games can he play in a 7-game series? Is it worth it to have him play 3, if that? That's another thing we don't know is, like, if he gets to the finish line, can he? If they don't play back-to-backs in the playoffs. Is one night here and there enough that he can come back and play?
That was always the thing that we had been like, people, get him to the playoffs. There's no back-to-backs, but that's why tonight's a concern, Mike, because this isn't a back-to-back tonight, and he only played 30 minutes on a Sunday night. He should be able to play tonight. I mean, maybe it was his first night, first game back in a while. He played 30 minutes. Maybe they are being a little bit cautious tonight in general.
And they're playing the Wizards.
Yeah, a team that. So yeah, they shouldn't need him necessarily to get a W here.
You wonder how much that factors in.
Yeah, which is fair, Mike. We don't know what the factors are, but from like a little bit, it's this is a game that on paper he should be able to play, and the fact that he was ruled out yesterday, not even actually the fact that he was ruled out yesterday might lend some credence to the fact that they were being just cautious and being like, hey, here's an extra rest day. It's against the Wizards. We don't need you, but. I mean, the playoffs, it's not back-to-back. But there's a lot of games where it's 2 and 3 nights. And if he can't go 2 and 3 nights, then, like, is it even worth having him out for one game? And then at the next game, you have to completely alter the starting lineup, alter the way you play. Like,
yeah, how do you go into a playoff series like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And that's been the thing for years, Mike. I mean, it's not any different, except this year the availability is just even a bigger question mark than it has been in the past.
All right. How does Paul George fit? What are we seeing from George? I mean, I get people, like, we talked a little bit about him on the radio on Monday, and I'm getting people telling me, George stinks. He's not, I thought he played defensively pretty well at times. I mean, I think he definitely adds to the defense. Did he shoot the ball all that well? No. He made a big 3 later on in the game. I don't know. How's he fitting into you?
I actually thought he looked pretty good in that Hawks game, Mike. I'm not going to lie. I thought he made a couple really good hustle plays down the stretch that stuck out to me. Grabbed like a couple long offensive rebounds, kicked it out to Maxey to get that late flurry going and push it into overtime. He's obviously still kind of, I think, working back into the rhythm. He said as much basically after that Hawks game where he's still, trying to get his sea legs under him out there. But I mean, prime Paul George is gone, Mike. I think we can all agree on that. The days of him going out there and giving you 25, 7 and 7 on a night.
Which they don't need from him.
Right.
If Joel's there and he's the 3rd or 4th or 5th guy with this level of Maxey. The other guards, McCain and Grimes, can score point. You don't need Paul George to score 25 a night. So this version of Paul George isn't good enough. The problem is without Joel, probably not.
Yeah, but I mean, I still think Paul can be a positive contributing player. I thought there were some flashes on defense. The shooting, obviously, he wasn't great in that Hawks game, but he's still a guy that can space the floor and knock down shots. So I'm less worried about Paul George, obviously, than I am about Joel Embiid. But to your point, Mike, it's kind of from moot. Like, if Joel's not there, then what's the point of having Paul even around? He's on a different timeline than the younger guys. The contract's huge. Like, Joel is the crux that tied this whole team together in a way that made sense for the way that it was constructed. Like, they only brought Paul George in to play with Joel because they're on a similar timeline, championship chase. If Joel's not out there, then it's just, you're watching this team and you're like, they should just have a younger guy out there getting minutes as opposed to Paul George.
Yeah, man, it's frustrating because I agree with what Eric has just said. He says, I'm not a PG guy at all, but he definitely helps the team. He just has to make shots. He's getting looks. He's getting shots. I think he could be a shot maker. He's a guy, to me, that can keep Maxey confident, meaning late in the game when Maxey gets a lot out of control and then he's looking around. He's like, I got Grimes. I got McCain. I don't know that I trust these guys. I think he would trust Paul George. Yeah. Like, here, George, I'm doubled. I'm tripled. Instead of me dribbling all over the place, I'll let you get the shot because he trusts that George can be a shot maker.
And I think Paul needs to step up a little bit himself in terms of just, like, being an alpha, Mike. I think he's going back to last season and what we've seen this season.
We were talking about this on the radio yesterday, and I said, this guy feels like Trey Turner. Like, no connection with the city, no connection. I never hear him talk. I don't see him be a part of anything. It almost feels like he's not even really here. You got Paul George on your team. I mean, this guy was one of the 15 best players in the league 2 years ago. He got hurt last year. It happens. You're older. I get it. There are guys 34 and 35 years old that are still players. And now he just feels like an afterthought. Like, Paul George is on my team. Like, Paul George is on this team.
And I mean, this is a guy that I've said would be a great fit on the Sixers for 10 years. And obviously in classic Sixer style, they waited till he's on his last legs. But no, to me, he
coming in next is Chris Webber and Keith Van Horn and Glenn Robinson.
He doesn't have any knees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, but to me, Paul George, going back to last year, he's looked to me more like he's trying to like fit in rather than like stick out. But he, like to your point, like this is Paul George. Like he needs to, especially now with if he's out there and Joel's not, and you see Maxey playing 40 minutes and taking 30 shots and carrying the team. Like Paul George is a guy that can be like, hey, I can carry this offense for stretches. You can run the offense through me. I can play ISO. I can play in the high post. Like he has a deep bag offensively that we've seen since 2010, Mike. And I feel like he's been hesitant. Some of it's probably the injury and the ramp up process, but when he's out there, like there's times where I'd like to see him kind of like grab it and be like, hey, get on my back. Let me run things for a little bit, Maxie. You take a seat. And I think he's capable of that if he's healthy. I'd like to just see that, a little bit more moving forward.
Yeah, and then you got, all the other guys who can kind of fit in for 10, 12, 15, 18 minutes. Your McCains, your Grimes, Justin Edwards. I mean, can he be the yin to the yang for Paul George? Paul George, you play 32, and then I get the other 10 to 12 for Edwards, who kind of like, hey, be Paul George Jr., right? Paul George light. Like, they have the makings of some fits, but these injuries are just too much.
I was just going to say they genuinely miss Kelly Oubre. I've caught myself thinking that in that Hawks game. They could have used Kelly Oubre, Mike, both two-way, the defense, the shot making, the athleticism, the ability to get out in transition. For whatever reason, he's not a fan favorite with a lot of Sixers fans. Which to me is a little weird. He's done nothing but play hard and play pretty well during a season.
Yeah, he's just so erratic, but he's been good this year. I give you that. But, he's up, he's down. He's up, he's down.
He was one of the bright spots last year when I thought the team itself wasn't playing hard on a nightly basis. He was one guy that I knew would come out and play D and try to give the team a spark. And they're missing that right now.
I agree. Like, he played well this year, and I think it's interesting what they do when he comes back. Wofford, he was just fitting in, then he gets hurt. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, Wofford, I like what he brings to the table. People who think like he's going to be a 25-point game, 3 and D guy. I mean, he gives you all the other stuff. He's a good facilitator. He's a good secondary passer. They need his length, but he gets hurt too. I don't know. The Paul George Embiid thing is disappointing. I don't know if people had these ideas of grandeur that these guys were going to play 50, 60 games in this, but it's very frustrating the way it's gone down. This is even more frustrating than you thought it was going to be. Like, if you thought, like, I can't trust these guys at all, you probably aren't as frustrated as you actually became because of how this is going.
And the fact that the team looks half competent without them, like, I think even adds a little bit to the frustration. Because like you were saying earlier, if you take this team now with Maxey playing at an MVP caliber level and Edgecombe and the other guys and that they have, if you insert a healthy Paul George and Joel in this Eastern Conference, that's a team that's right in the contender conversation. And I think that makes it even a little bit more frustrating that they're not consistently available, because now you're just kind of waffling in no man's land.
Absolutely. It's the fact that they have shown something they haven't been able to do without Joel in the past is win games when Joel goes out. When he goes out, you saw last year, the whole season falls apart. When he hasn't played, they can't win. Now they're competitive without him. What could they be if he was him?
Or what could they be if they just went all in on a rebuild? And I think this is where some frustration comes in too, because then now you're stuck with these two guys in Joel and Paul George, where you're watching this team and you're like, wow, this is a young, athletic, exciting team. If we could possibly, flip these guys and just not a full rebuild, but bring in some. What
about Paul George? Is he tradable?
I think he is tradable, Mike. I don't know what the value would be. I don't think he's not, to me, in the level of Joel at this point in terms of like that contract. He has one less year. Like, he only has 2 years left on the deal after this.
That's what I mean. Is he at least like, is this somebody, I'm trying to think of a team where they're like, man, if we had a veteran wing who can make buckets. Would that put us in the East over the top? And that contract is 2 years. It's not the worst thing in the world. And Embiid is unmanageable. That's not going anywhere.
Right.
I don't know. Is there a team that sticks out in your head?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it for a second. But no, I do agree. I mean, I think you'd have to get out on the court a little more. Like, obviously, no one's trading for him this second when he's barely playing. But if from right now, December 2nd through, the weeks leading up to the trade deadline, if he can get out there consistently and play decently, I do think there would be teams that could potentially be interested. Sixers would have to sell for pennies on the dollar. You're not getting any sort of great return for Paul George at this point. And maybe you do need to include a guy like McCain, like that Hollywood question earlier when he said, would you include McCain in a Joel deal? I don't think that moves the needle. But if it's a Paul George deal where Paul George can come in and play and you're getting McCain, maybe that's sweet enough for some team to take a flyer on it. And for the Sixers, maybe you just take pennies on the dollar to get that contract off the books and give yourself a little bit of cap space because you're stuck with the Joel deal. At least you can get a little relief off the Paul George deal.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on, add before we rock and roll? We had a good show so far today. A lot of engagement, a lot of people checking in. The Sixers play the Wizards tonight, and they're busy at the back end of this week here. You got another back-to-back. How many back-to-backs is that for them? 30? I mean, come on, man. These back-to-backs are getting ridiculous for them. Some teams haven't played any back-to-backs. I think this is their 6th coming up. Washington tonight, Golden State Thursday, Milwaukee Friday, Lakers Sunday. Then they don't play again until Friday, then Sunday. Then they don't play again till Friday, then Saturday. And Tuesday, they get back into some sort of normalcy because of the very exciting NBA Cup. Very, very exciting.
So they have 4 games, Mike, in between now, like you said, Tuesday morning, December 2nd, and next Tuesday when we'll be recording again. Wizards, Warriors, Bucks, Lakers. How many of those games will Joel Embiid play in? I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm going to say 2.
Okay.
I'm going to say 2. Wait, of the 4 you're saying?
Yeah, how many of the 4 before the next show?
Okay, I'm going to say 2, and my hope is that he plays Thursday, Sunday, Friday. No.
So next Friday.
Yeah, against Indiana.
Yeah.
He's not going to play against the Bucks.
Thursday.
Unless they give him an extra day and he plays against Milwaukee, but that means he probably wouldn't play again on Sunday. It's like, can you play Thursday, Sunday? And this is ridiculous, by the way. You're somebody sitting in a room trying to figure this out like we are, I'm sure. But I would say Thursday against Golden State, Sunday against the Lakers, Friday against Indiana, or Sunday against Atlanta. One of those two, the Friday or the Sunday, the makeup games.
Yeah.
Then they don't play again until Friday against the Knicks. Then they have a back-to-back again. They play the Knicks and Dallas. But I would think Friday against the Knicks. Then Tuesday they play Brooklyn. So I would say this week of the 4, he gets 2. I'm going to be positive that tonight is just to make sure the knee responds and they're playing Washington.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I think
Sarr is out, right?
Yeah.
He smoked them last time.
Yeah, this is a team they should be able to beat without Joel for sure.
If me and you suited up tonight, they should have a shot.
Hey man, I can still space the floor. Get me out there.
I got a bum ankle right now, but if I was healthy, I could still hit a 3.
That's all they need.
All right, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment in the comments section on all platforms. We are on the X platform and on YouTube at Trust the Mics. And on the BFA YouTube channel and at Mike Gill Show. So there's a ton of places you can get us. Every Tuesday we are live right here on both platforms. And then, of course, you can watch the show and listen on all podcasting platforms. Make sure you just search Trust the Mics, a Sixers show. He's MKB. I'm Mike Gill. We'll do it again next week. All right, man. Good to see you.
All right, Mike.